Hey, everybody. This is Lynn Bright, also known as JLB in the house. Welcome to HopeNet Studio 2501, Conversations about Mental Health and Wellness podcast. We're so glad that once again, or maybe for your first time, that you're joining us. And I'm just so glad you're here. On today's episode, this is really going to be kind of cool because I have two really, really beautiful women who have agreed to hang out with me today. And we're going to focus on youth mental health. And also we're going to bring in a twist of art. So they can speak to all of that. And we really hope that you really get something out of here. Listen for your nuggets. You grab a hold of it and go with that. And we want to, first of all, thank our sponsor, a generous community partner for sponsoring this episode. And on today's episode, we bring to you Amelia Phommachanh.
Yes.
She had me like practicing that. I tell you, I've been practicing all week. Okay?
You did great.
Okay, thank
Amazing.
you. And also Micala Gingrich-Gaylord.
Also a big name, right?
A big name, girl.
You did good.
Thank you. I think I just want to call you MGG or something.
You can call me GG, MGG, any of it.
Okay.
We can all use
it.
just the letters of our name.
Okay, that's, cool. That's great. I do just want to bring up why I'm kind of giddy today is because I worked with Micala, and I don't even say how long ago, years ago, because then it dates me. It doesn't date her, it dates me.
Both of us, maybe a little.
But when she walked in today, I said, man, you just look so grown up. You know, I think I met you when you were a kid. But we worked at United Methodist Youthville, which was the foster care contractor at the time, and that's how we got to hang out, because at that time I trained every new worker.
Yeah. And
so we did new worker training. Man, okay, can you feel it now? That was like some of the best stuff we ever did.
I mean, I'm still using things I learned at Youthville a long time ago.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Don't tell.
I still use it every day, literally, in my work.
Wow.
And I don't even do that same kind of work, really. So yeah, there's still skills I learned there.
Yes. Okay.
You're a good teacher.
Thank you. You can tell the camera that all day long.
She's a good teacher.
And then this young lady sitting next to me right here, Miss Amelia, it was like probably like, it wasn't a fluke. We already talked about divine intervention, but
right.
I was at HopeNet. I'm there now. And she comes in and she's with a friend and she's bouncing all over the place. Okay. I'm like, who is this girl?
I'm like looking at the books.
And then when I tell her, I say, you know what? You and your friend need to be on the podcast. Well, I think you reined her in. They're like, yeah, you're like, yes, we'll do it. We will do it. Okay. Not to know that here we are now. But people need to know too that you and I and several other people just spent last weekend together at Spread Hope ICT.
We did.
And we HopeNet partners with Chicken and Pickle once a year and around mental health, suicide prevention and awareness. And shout out to Chicken and Pickle.
Shout out.
We love them. And you agreed to be on the panel.
It was awesome.
I know. And the focus was on youth mental health. So here we are today. So this is almost like a continuation of that. And it's great to have Micala bring her expertise too. And then that piece about art, like I'm stick figure. I'm stick figure people. So don't even get me started on that. So I just want you guys to kind of introduce yourselves and tell a little bit, what do you want our audience to know about you?
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right. So my name is Amelia Phommachanh. I serve Kansas as Miss Asian Cultural Ambassador 2023, thanks to the Wichita Asian Festival cultural pageant. I'm representing the Asian community at Miss Kansas coming up really soon, actually in June. So I'm advocating for my platform, which is Here for You, Suicide Prevention, ways to seek help, to spread empathy, to spread awareness, and to have real conversations surrounding mental health and specifically suicide prevention.
Look, you know, the word that comes to me is real, because that's you. Okay. And I like that you said that we can have real conversations about something that's hard.
It's hard.
Okay. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
And Ms. Micala, what do you want people to know?
Wow, that's such a long story.
That's
there.
legal.
I know it's legal, right?
Legal, okay.
So my background in relationship specifically to kiddos and mental health is having run the Expressive Arts Center that was on Youthful's campus for almost 10 years. And really, recognizing the need and the relationship that art, music, theater, expressive work is for kids who are dealing with mental health issues. Not just kids, everyone. I mean, honestly, I think it's an incredible tool. So that's my background. I still go up and do programming with those kids now, which is now Ember Hope, and try to, use art in all kinds of ways to bridge community conversation about communities and with people about hard stuff. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Why is it so hard? What makes it hard? What makes it a challenging conversation? I mean, we could talk about stigma and all of that around getting help around mental health. Or okay, so we have you guys. I just noticed the generation thing we got going on here, because just maybe the things that were told us, like if you talk about mental health, you're crazy. That maybe that was from my generation. I don't know, Micala, if we jump into your space, and then we look at Amelia, and she's representing another age group. Yeah. But what has made it hard in each?
I can say for myself, my generation, I think mental health was starting to be more talked about for sure, but it was like talk about it, but keep it still private because there's still shame, right? I think what's changing now, and maybe you can say, in a younger generation, is let's talk about it, but also make it a community conversation, because mental health isn't just individual. I'm struggling. It can be I'm struggling in context to my community.
Right.
Yeah. So, and maybe for you it was don't talk about it at all. Right. So that is the kind of the evolution is keep it inside, talk about it a little. Now let's start bringing community in to like problem solve it. That's my perspective.
Yeah. I think for my generation, it's almost isolation. I know COVID was hard on so many people physically and especially mentally. And just having that isolation factor during school, during times like that. And social media also can make us feel very isolated. I know my generation, I say, is the digital generation, We tend to be scrolling on these platforms and seeing different things. And I've caught myself doing it, feeling isolated while watching a video of like a group of people hanging out. And so that's kind of why I feel like it's kind of hard to just address that type of thing.
When Micala was talking about Jolyn, your generation, and also culturally, and I was just talking to somebody last weekend about this, like I said, being African American and growing up in what we would call the Black church, there was a heavy reliance on the pastor. Like, so the pastor was the jack of all trades. And now if there's a pastor listening, they're saying, I am so glad that is like not still going on. Or if it's still going on, to say, yeah, it's a heavy burden and I'm not qualified sometimes. But the thing is, it was also that thing of that you're going to keep it in what goes on in this house stays in this house. And the only person we're going to tell is the pastor. And then they will come and counsel to that, so you're praying nothing came up. And so I'm a therapist today, but I didn't even know what therapy was.
Right.
Go to counseling. What in the world is that?
That's wild to think about that relationship with faith, because my grandfather was an Episcopal priest and Father Jim, as we called him, right, in the family was the person who kind of made a lot of decisions around what was good for mental health in the family or family secrets. And that was in the 80s, right? I mean, 80s, 90s. So that notion of who do we appoint as the main contact for mental health and help can kind of be problematic. So that's interesting to hear you talk about that.
That just gave me the chills, Micala. That thing about who do we appoint for mental health in this space and time, and for even for the family.
Well, and I've never, my background and my degree are not in psychology,
I know. Yeah.
My background's in art. So the appointment of, can I do therapeutic work with kids is, Yes, I can. Am I a therapist? No. But therapeutic work can happen in community.
Absolutely.
Right?
You said that she said the C word a couple times, that whole community thing too. And what is it looking like for your community right now, Amelia? I mean, I don't even want to kind of do the thing. I mean, I'm old, I'm ready to go to bed, but
Yeah, no, I do represent a lot of different communities here in Wichita. And I feel like the thing that just connects me to all of them, representing the Asian community, the younger community, and, just being real and open and honest about things that happen in my personal life and my mind space, has been the best part of being with my community, because I can talk with those people and I know that they'll unconditionally love me, because we also talked about support and what is support in a community and what does that look like for, the people that surround you. And, that's a really big part.
And I love the answer that you even gave at Spread Hope ICT, is like, what makes up for a great support system? Like, what are the ingredients if we're going to bake the cake?
Yeah.
What's in there? What is it that you need? It may be different for Micala or someone else who's listening or watching, but what are some things that we can bring up right now about what are some good ingredients for a good support system?
Do you have a few ingredients?
Yeah, no. So I really feel, because I believe that, we can be our own support system in God. And, if we unconditionally, God has that unconditional love for us, and so it's not like he's going to stop loving us for some reason. And so it's that unconditional love factor that I believe really brings up support in relationships, knowing that, hey, this can happen and I'm still going to love you through it. We're going to get through this together. And I feel like that's what HopeNet really does represent, like therapists and people that are going to love somebody no matter what they're going through, just somebody to be there to talk to. I feel like vulnerable, authentic conversations and exchanges of, love and light is really important pieces of a support cake.
Yep, a support cake.
Yep.
I was going to call it the support soup, but I like the support cake because cake is better.
Soup is good too. I like soup.
I mean, both are good. Depends on who the cook is, right?
Let's have both.
Let's have both. Let's soup and cake. So in my support soup, the things that absolutely there are similar in terms of unconditional love from the people around you. And if they can't provide it, who can? I think a lot of times mental health comes in when you don't have that, when you didn't get that. I think building trusting, and I use the word community a lot, but I think it's really radically important, is building trusting communities where you can have hard conversations, and you practice them together, where you can say really tough things to each other, but know that, okay, the bottom's not going to fall out. We can say these hard things. And I learned, I believe I learned it when I was working at Youthville, but I learned this concept of holding space, that also a good recipe doesn't always know exactly how it's going to come out. And so you're holding space for the idea, but you're also holding out, hope that if it changes in the midst of what's going on, nobody is going to lose it. You can just hold space and not have to have every answer. And I think we're all...
You don't have to have every answer.
I don't know.
For the people.
I mean, not.
Somebody needs to hear that today, because when we are sitting with people, maybe we do think that we have to come forth with just the right things to be said.
Yeah.
No, I think sometimes, my experience of feeling held myself when I'm in a hard place isn't about somebody saying the right answer. It's about them telling me they're not going to go anywhere.
Okay.
Right?
It's you'll stay.
It's like you'll stick around. And I think kiddos, for sure, that is a critical piece, is I can get wild and I can have all this hard stuff happening and you're still going to hold me down, and not hold me down, but hold it down, whatever our space is. And that's been a radical act of love for, that I've learned and that I've experienced and been able to give back, I think. So yeah, trust and being able to hold space and not have all the answers. That's in my soup.
Okay.
That's a beautiful, yummy soup.
And the cake's looking pretty good too.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Man, I was just thinking about, I think, Amelia, I want you to share your mental health story. And I want to go, because Micala just said something that's really good, especially when we're working with kids. of holding space, and I thought immediately of parents. Okay.
Yeah.
So Amelia is a young woman, but she also grew up. She has a story, and there were parents there too. And we want to give something to them today. And the first thing that you said is a radical act of love is like even just staying there, holding space, and not having all the right answers.
Just being there.
Yeah. Just
present.
dive in. Like tell us why is this so important to you? Where did it all begin?
Yeah, so for me, I grew up in a biracial home. My dad is an immigrant from Laos, and my mom grew up here in America. It was I had an amazing childhood. I went to a wonderful private school, had great friends, but there was one thing that happened, and it just completely wrecked my world. It was something that I had always been like, Mom, promise me that this will never happen with you and Dad. And then one day, Mom's like, hey, me and your dad are getting a divorce. To a young person in general is absolutely, it is so confusing, heart-wrenching. But I was going into my freshman year of high school. My sister had just gone away to college, and now I have to live in one place and live in another and drive my brother to school. There were so many outside factors that made me just become more isolated. And that's why I use that word of my generation, because it just, you feel isolated when these feelings are circling through your head. And I just didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't understand mental health. It wasn't mentioned in my house, in my family. We didn't understand it. It wasn't really mentioned in the school that I went to either. And one day I couldn't take it anymore. The thoughts that I had the toxic thoughts turned into a toxic reality, and the emotions that I felt infinite. You know, even though that there was, I believe in God and that he has a higher purpose and plan for me, but that didn't matter in that moment. And so I was ready to just end my life and dim my light. But there was a voice in my head that was like, hey, call your mom, just talk to somebody about this, see what could happen. Because here's the thing, like, people don't want to die. They just want their pain to stop. When it came down to it, when I was done with the self-harm, when I was done with the suicidal ideations, when I was done living in pain and fear and torment because of things that were happening that I couldn't control, I was like, there's one thing that I can. And I called my mom, and I ended up getting the help that I needed. And I victoriously came out of that. And now I'm here right now talking about this. And though it's hard to talk about, it gets easier each time I share my story. Yeah.
Because you put it out there. And the thing is, even for the three of us, even right now today, that people don't know, it's good for our mental health. Just the three of us, right? Whatever space that we're in today, this morning, all that we've been going through. I want to jump to the parents. Like, I heard what you said. I called my mom. This voice said, call your mom. And then you said, I got the help that I needed.
Definitely.
So, Micala, jump in here and say, what are some things that maybe even what parents may experience and what is helpful?
Sure. Well, I'm a parent of a kiddo who's dealing with mental health. And I was a kiddo who was dealing with mental health. And, so it goes, right? I think what I learned from working with kids, and then what I experienced with my own kid was, I was scared at first. I mean, really, that's the when you said, it's this infinite feeling, this infinite pain.
Yeah.
For me, it was infinitely scary to hear my kid was dealing with something I couldn't control either. So this notion of like what is out of control for you is also out of control for the child.
Yes.
And I think as a parent, I had to really slow myself down in my own responses and say, okay, I'm scared. Who do I talk to about my fear? Because it sure isn't my kid who's telling me they're afraid.
Yeah.
And so I sought help also again, for when my kiddo was dealing with things, because I knew that journey was different for both of us. So I think admitting that it's okay to be afraid or scared or,
Yeah.
And parents are supposed to know everything, right?
Well, I don't know about that book. I don't know how many books you have to read to know everything.
And you don't, but we all have these big expectations that if my kid's hurting and has something going on that's mental health, I'm going to know what I'm supposed to do. But I think it's okay to not know. And that's about holding space too, is being okay with the unknown, but also still being loving, within the context of that. So I mean, I think being able to talk about it with friends, peers, seeking out other people's opinions and suggestions was helpful and is continuing to be helpful for us. And I think just being humble in the experience of okay, this is hard. It won't always be hard, but we can walk through this gracefully together. I try to walk like real soft. That's my hey, this is a soft approach,
You're going to teach some parents. You should just have a class on, and maybe we should call it Walking Soft.
Yeah.
Walking soft.
Yeah. Walk
That's
soft.
good.
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's do it.
Okay.
Can the whole room have cotton balls?
Can I come
everywhere?
too?
It's like a cotton pads on the floor.
It's just like soft cloud.
Right.
So some people listening right now are going to say, I'm going to have a soft approach. They are saying cotton balls.
Well, it's like, I think too, you want to make anybody who loves someone, I don't care if it's your kid or anyone, you don't want people you love to be in pain.
Right.
And the natural reaction, I think, is fear first, right? My grandfather, speaking of the priest, used to say we act out of two places, fear or love, And for me, when I was dealing for the first time with my own mental health, the same kind of things you're talking about, that fear of, is this forever?
What's going on?
Yeah. Is this ever going to get better? Is this normal? All of those questions, I think are normal things that people go through.
Or why me?
Yeah.
Why my kid? I was just talking to a friend, and I said, when you bring the baby home and you're looking at this baby and they're just so innocent and cute, and you don't know what's going to be happening at 15, at 18, at 20, 25. And then you'll be looking and like, what in the world happened? Or I never wanted anything bad. I never wanted my child to be in anguish or want to end their life or anything like that. But the thing is, my friend, she was so just there. She said, but the thing is, we can be in La La Land, or she may not use those words, or you can say, this is our reality. Our reality is this, that there is something going on. And hands down, when she walked away that day, I just said, she said to me, but that's my child. And I'm going to, what's that thing that you said? I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be right here. Yeah. And tell me, what is it? I'm going to flip this on us a little bit. And from each of our generations, let's talk from there. What does it look like when we have stayed for other people? Even if somebody comes to your mind, who have we stayed for? And what were we doing? What were we feeling in trying to help them get through that or get to the other side, the thing of victory?
Yeah. So
you want to take that on first?
No, for sure. Yeah. So I feel like staying in my generation is staying present in the realness of life, what's going on and what's happening around us. And I think I mentioned this at the Spread Hope event, but somebody asked me the other day, what's the best advice that you can give a child? And it's not what you can say to a child, but it's what you show to a child. So just showing up, seeing consistency in your actions to see somebody, to talk to them, to be present, just to be open and honest. It brings a sense of hope. And, that's what I try and do my best to, especially with my generation, it's that authenticity that we don't normally see. Yeah.
That's a powerful statement, authenticity of a generation. I'm just struck by that question, Joel, and I think it's a really good one. And I'm thinking specifically about so many kiddos that were in psychiatric care that were really tough to hold space with. Sometimes you're like, whoa, I don't know. You're so mad and you're so hurt and you are really tough. And their claws were out and there was just a lot of behaviors that were really hard to suss out and understand. I think what you said, which is really lovely to me, is consistency. Like I found and have found over the years that I show up with the same script every time to every art group. I say the same things. I am consistently who I am. And I tell the kids, I say outright, I'm here. I don't want you to get, so angry you can't stay. So if you're starting to get frustrated or feel things, let's talk about the big things, but let's stay. Yeah. Because I'm going to stay and I don't want you to leave. So that consistency piece for me has been big. And I think, I don't know if that's generational or if that's just learned from watching a lot of good people. And I think sometimes what we do as we craft our practice of however we work with people, whatever we do, we craft it off of what we needed, right?
Right.
And
that's good.
Yeah,
that's
right.
good.
I mean, my parents didn't always stay, and I love them now. And they did the best they could, but there were some ways in which they didn't show up, and so it's like, well, I'm going to do that. Yeah. So that in terms of generation, that's something I can think of as what I had and what I want to do different,
Yeah, I'll compare.
I think I'm trying to think through it. The first thing that came to me was laughter. Is I think sometimes I bring some comic relief to sometimes really hard situations. And so that sometimes that's my go-to, and I'm not trying to make it light or whatever. Another thing, a tangible thing, is changing around my schedule. And because of the generation I sit in, I can be a little bit more flexible because my career lends that. I've paid my dues, kind of. And so you're in a space where you can be a little bit more flexible. But the thing is, in order for me to be flexible to stay or to be present or to be consistent or even authentic with this person or this situation, I have to have support. I have to have my support saying, yes, you can go and be flexible. You can go do that thing right now. I'll do the dishes.
Yes.
It's okay you didn't make the bed kind of thing. Go do that with that person. So I just think those are some things that maybe people need to hear, like how am I, and I want you to unpack this just a little bit more before we even go to the art piece. Like authenticity, people throw that word around, but what does it look like? I mean, it's being real, but what's coming out of you that brings forth the authenticity?
Yeah, that's actually a really awesome question. I feel like authenticity is a feeling. When you feel authentic, other people, when you are authentic, I feel like other people can feel the authenticity that you're giving off. And then it sets you apart from all these people who do the regular, scheduled thing that's the norm. But then when you step out and you're authentic in who you are, what you can do. But the thing is, there's a point where you have to reach that, like you can grow your authenticity if that, you know what I'm saying? Like,
would you say it's like vulnerability?
Yes.
Because I think the more vulnerable you are,
the more real you can
the more real you can get. So it's a practice of showing up in ways that say, well, I'm not really sure what I'm doing, or I'm going to say this out loud. I'm kind of scared. I'm here for you, but I'm kind of feeling nervous, and that to me is how you start to build the authenticity is you show up first with vulnerability. And a willingness to be wrong.
To admitting that, Come on. I know.
Not the wrong
That's
thing.
the worst. That's the worst news.
Because
right?
you were groomed to be right.
Yeah.
I mean, some of us have been
All
groomed
of
to be
us.
right.
Right.
We all want to be right.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody is outside of that. I was just the other day talking with folks about what we have to change, and this isn't specific to my day job, what I do for work, is that there are certain things that can't change. If a person is going through a panic attack, telling them to calm down is literally not possible sometimes, right? So instead it's like, okay, vulnerably speaking, like, I see you're really scared. That kind of scares me, but we're going to work through it together. Like, that's authentic. To me, that's an authenticity. Yeah. Instead of everything's going to be fine. Let's calm down. Let's shh.
Yeah.
Please don't do that, so I won't have a panic attack because I'm scared. You look like you're going to die, and you think you're going to die.
And I'm worried about that. Yeah, but I think we have to change some behaviors instead of always looking to what can the outside provide to us to become more authentic. Like, we have to do some actual work that changes it.
Yes, I totally agree.
Like, you should high five her.
High five. No, that's what I meant. Like, and you can grow that, feeling like you can grow your authenticity by being yourself, by being vulnerable, by being real.
And Micala, you said something, the word after she came off of authenticity, you said that consistency. What did being consistent look like?
Well, for me, it was setting routines that I knew I could follow. And just a silly example, but I mean, every time I would introduce a group with kids, I use ART, affirm, respect, and trust. That's what those stand for. And we use those as like our grounding points. This is what we're going to do. And I've been doing that for 15, 16 years, that same thing. I didn't change it because it worked, right?
Yeah.
Consistently knowing that if I settle myself first, then I would be more successful with settling someone else. Like, but if I was feeling wild out or something scared me, I was only going to make things real bad. You know, and as a parent, that's embarrassing, right? To say like, when my kiddo first started having anxiety, I was like getting real wild out. And my husband, bless his heart, was like, hey, I don't know, but I think maybe you might be contributing a little bit to this.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, you're right. Cause I was getting amped up. Right. Yeah. So I have to do my work before I can expect to help somebody else do theirs.
Well, you know, somebody's gonna use it. I wrote it down. Wild it out.
Wild out. Yeah. Just wilding out. Like, whoa. And it really was, it was just, you know, you are impacted by the people around you. We all are. And we mirror each other. And I think parental relationships with your kiddos is like, that's your baby. That's your human. You know, that's a precious gift. And you don't want, like you said earlier, and I remember my mom telling me, I said, I don't want anything bad to happen to Basil. And my mom said, you don't want anything to happen bad to Basil ever? And I was like, well, no, no. Yeah. And my mom said, honey, everything's going to happen. The whole range is going to happen. Right. Like,
that's a good word.
That was terrible news for a second. I was like, really?
What?
But I don't want that, you know, stop. And turns out, right. How do you build character? How do you become a person? You go through stuff. It's hard.
Yeah. I was thinking through when you're talking, we have to create a safe place for people to land in what makes us safe. And I know in the therapeutic room and the therapy room, it's trying to always let that person consistently know that it's safe to say what you need to say in here. And I'm not going to tell, unless you're going to hurt yourself or something and I need to get you help. But what makes you safe, Micala? What makes you safe, Miss Amelia?
Mean what makes me feel safe, or what makes me a safe person?
What makes you a safe person?
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, I want you to think about your friends, because I'm assuming that you are safe people, because I feel pretty safe with you guys. I mean, I've consistently felt that when I've been with you. So the thing is, if I called in all your friends right now and said, what is it about Amelia? What is it about Micala that makes them safe? What would they say to me?
That's a good question. I feel like I have to.
Should I phone a friend?
You're right. Let's call some people. I feel like a lot of my closest people would say that I'm safe because I'm always going to be an advocate. I'm really passionate about people who need help with their voice, or, you know, it's like, oh, that person's not being heard well enough. Let me help step in. And I have a very strong voice.
Can you say that again?
I have a very strong voice. And so, I feel like because of that, there's a trusted consistency of my advocacy continually showing up for people. So I think that makes me safe. And I think the other thing is that I'm also willing to do conflict. And I think that actually is maybe counterintuitive for some people, but for most of the people that I think consider me safe, they know that if things get hard, I'm not going to check out.
And you're still going to love them?
Yeah. And I'm going to go through the hard stuff. And I think being willing to do conflict is a huge and critical piece of people thinking, man, you're all right. You're a safe person. We can have a hard time and we can get back together, or we can come back to center.
You know, we were just at HopeNet yesterday, and there's 3 of us in the hall, and one of our interns said, I just had to have a really hard conversation. I said, an important conversation. And then the person said, a critical conversation. And I said, it's that thing that happens like when your stomach starts turning, your heart is beating, and you really don't want to do that. So when I hear you say being willing, to handle conflict, to take it in, take it on. So there's going to be some people that are going to call you. We should put your number at the bottom or whatever.
Yes.
You said, please don't call me.
Oh, I create some conflict too. So.
But you know what I'm saying? That I think we were standing in the hall saying that feels yucky, but then we ended on this. But it's always so necessary, even though it's hard, and to not be afraid. Because the thing is, even the three of us talking, I think we knew we care about each other.
Yep.
And I think it made it safe to even say that in the hallway in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are great questions. And it reminds me of that acronym. I think it's THINK. Is it thoughtful, helpful, interesting, nice, or kind? And when you're dealing with the conflict, thinking about those, and it's kind of that, is this an important or critical conversation? And knowing that once you do that work, you set yourself up for building trust and consistency for helping kids who are struggling, or yourself, or your friendships, or whatever.
You know, that whole conflict thing, I do teach from the book Crucial Conversations. I call it Navigating Important Conversations, but the 3 powerful questions to ask before you enter it. So Amelia, if I have something going on with you, and the thing is that we feel like maybe peace has been disturbed or whatever, we're just struggling. So when I'm sitting back, I'm saying, before I enter this conversation, the quick 3 questions. What do I want for myself? What do I want for the other person? What do I want for Amelia? Yeah. And then the third question is, what do I want for the relationship? Because the thing is, just because we enter into conflict doesn't mean that we have to break up, I guess. Right. But it's that thing of what. And the thing is, if you think about that beforehand, it's kind of like your think that when you enter it, it's good stuff. It only lands on good. You're not trying to, be defensive, but I said and get my point across, and I don't care what you're saying, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, that makes
great.
Okay.
And it's reminds me, uncomfortable conversations create a comfortable truth. And
ooh, that's a thing. That's a bumper sticker, girl.
That's a bumper sticker.
That's a high five.
Yeah. No, so I resonate with that, because you need to have those conversations in order to truly uncover that uncomfortability and then become comfortable in truth.
And before you give us what makes you safe and what your friends are saying to me is, I think I better just let you just go ahead and say that to me.
Well, from the friends, I believe being relatable and having no judgment. No judgment whatsoever. Come to me if you need, if something happens and you need me to pick you up at 5 a.m, call me. We're going to figure it out. No judgment. I'm here for you. Let's relate together. Let's talk about this.
That's a gift.
Safe space, like you said, having that safe space.
Good. Yeah. Art.
Yes.
Tell us what's healing about that. What have you discovered over time? What are you doing now? Just talk to us about that.
I'll try to be succinct in why I know this in my body, right? This isn't something I read. This is something I know. When I was very little, I experienced a sexual assault. And the only way I could talk about it, the only way I could express it, rather, was by drawing, make-believe expression, right? Okay. I didn't have the right words for what had happened. And I didn't have people around me who were reflecting the right words because of their own deficits and things going on, right? It's taken me years to understand that, but I have. And,
Yeah.
But so it became very obvious very quickly to me that was impactful for me. And so as I started to, grow as an artist and just started getting better at even just drawing, I realized, man, this is a vehicle for other people. And so when I first started working with kids, when I was at the University of Kansas, I was working at a shelter, and we'd sit around and we'd draw, and that was, nice. And it was crazy the things that these kids would tell me through their drawing. It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it was such it was like an approachable way to get at hard stuff. It was like, yeah, I get this. Like, you're mad, or you're having a hard day, or you're really sad. Let's pull out some stuff and just make something together that's lovely, right?
Yeah.
Let's color. And this was well before color therapy and the mandala books, Yeah, this wasn't then. So that's how old I am. But so when those came out, I was like, yeah, no doubt.
Let's color.
That's awesome. That helps.
Yeah.
I think it's just such an incredible tool for taking people from one place to another. It's like a vehicle. It's like a free ride. It's like, there's not a lot of rules. And I think mental health in general, when people are struggling, it could be really scary to get things wrong.
Okay.
Because I'm already dealing with something that's not working and I better get it right. And art takes a lot of that away. The pressure of like, there's a right or wrong way to color blue. There is not. There's many shades of it. It's fine. So I think it's a wide open space, which is lovely for people who are struggling. It's a way to transfer really hard things into a safe place when you can't say it exactly.
Right. No words.
Yeah. There just aren't words sometimes. And then at the end of it, it's like out of you. That's the other thing. It's not all stuck in there. So it's like a way to put it out.
Yeah. Expressive.
Awesome. And I think, now there's so much science to back that up, which is so cool. And I feel like I'm real smart because I'm like, ooh, I figured that out.
Okay. Yep, I know this.
But I really it was experiential learning. It was like me doing it and knowing it worked for me. So yeah.
Awesome.
That's good. I love it. Just briefly, somebody's listening right now and they're like, art, coloring. I don't know what you feel, Amelia. Like you
I love art.
Okay, thank you.
Joanne's like, I do stick figures. I think I said that earlier.
But my husband did buy me a coloring book like 1 year. Okay. And there is something about just, you know what? This is it. You also have to be still.
Oh, yeah.
And get yourself quiet to then to decide I'm going to use blue.
Sure.
On that.
Yep.
And I'm going to use pink over here.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to use some green.
There's decisions.
There's decisions to be made in creativity.
Yep.
I guess. And so I we have a mutual friend that says she's a creative. And I'm like, you can make some crazy things. But when I think about being creative, I'm trying to decide blue, green, pink, or whatever. Yeah. Can you speak to the not being afraid of art, or coloring,
or being and so I would say art. When I use that terminology, I'm talking about music, dance, theater. I'm talking about drawing. I'm talking about. So for some people, art is getting in your car, turning on your favorite music, and singing at the top of your lungs, right? Yeah,
that's me.
I mean, or dancing or moving. Like my husband's a runner, and like. For him, his expression, he's also a musician, but one of his expressions is his physical body. Like, I tried to run with them once. It didn't go so well. Catch me on the flip side of that. I'm going to go get my coloring book. But I do think like there's for people, it's different. So you're right, slowing down, but I think it's also not being afraid that expression. I guess I'm talking more about expression.
Thank you.
That's a distinction because I think people hear art and like you said earlier,
and it's like,
I hear that phrase I can do stick figures.
Yeah.
So I think people really equate art to a visual thing and it's not, there's so many ways to be expressive.
Much more.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that's how we can share that with grown-ups and kids.
Yes.
That can be helpful. How has art been, on her definition, been helpful to you and also to you as we get ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, I feel like music has been something that has really helped me from a young age. I've always loved listening to my favorite song and just singing. And, I feel like praise and worship music for me is just really beneficial for, if I'm having anxiety, I'll just turn it on in my car and listen to what's being said and the words and the music. And, we know that from the Bible that music has been an expressive art that's calmed down, King Solomon as David played. And, for me in my generation, I believe we're in tune to music a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, every day I draw or I listen to music or I do art project. I mean, I'm very, that's like, I'm steeped in that tea, that for me is my medicine.
Steeped in that tea.
Yeah.
Is that a bumper sticker too? I'm steeped in that tea.
We're actually doing a bumper sticker podcast. Right?
Don't y'all try to steal these now.
Okay. These are copyrighted.
Yeah.
But so it's something that I do all the time. It's a stress reliever for me. For my kiddos, the same. My husband, I think, we've built a world around being creative people and being expressive in multiple ways. And, it's a really important passion of mine to talk about that in all the spaces that I occupy. So
Great.
Awesome.
It's really funny because I think about this. I'm not a singer. I can sing, but I'm not a singer. I'm a talker. And yes, we do play music in our house and stuff like that. I grew up around music, but this is the funny thing with God, okay? He wakes me up with a song almost every morning, okay? And this is what I found out about God is that he likes every genre, okay? Because the other day, I'm serious. I've never woke up to this song, and it was Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And I said, maybe he wants me to have fun. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm not having a lot of fun. But the thing is, like, what songs come that are encouraging and that kind of thing. And so I think that's how he speaks to me. And so I'm glad that you talked about being expressive.
Yeah, versus just visual art.
Yes, visual art. Thank you for clarifying that for us.
I think that's a big thing that people get confused. And it is so, it's vast. Expression is a vast, space. And my husband has a song in his heart every morning. That's what we call it.
Oh.
That's me.
Oh.
That's not good, is it? And so, there's an and there was the music.
Yeah. And there was the song in his heart.
Okay, here we go.
Beautiful.
Can we go for another hour?
I know, this is a great conversation.
Yes. And thank you for having this conversation about mental health and wellness. And just the take just from the two of you has been really, really, really good. And it's made me feel really good. I mean, we know the secret behind this podcast that there's it was divine intervention. And so we really thank God for that. But we really, I'm going to ask one last question, and for each of you that we're going to close on, because we do have to end the conversation, what's one thing that you would want someone to remember, either that you said today, or say, I'm going to give you one last word of hope. Can you do that right now?
Mm-hmm. I think it's about community and building a network that can hold space for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I believe that speaking out is the best thing that we can do, whether you're struggling, whether you know somebody that's struggling, and trauma wants us to stay silent, but our voices can be heard, and they are heard.
I'm voting for you.
No, where do we sign up to vote?
Thank you. Thank you. And I think mine is continue to work on just being safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Being safe. And sometimes we may mess that up, but then, but get back. Get back. Thank you guys for bumper sticker sounds and words
cake
and all
and
that
soup
today.
All of it.
Yes. And we just want to thank our audience just for hanging out with us today. Thank you for listening and or watching on video. And this is once again JLB in the house. We want to thank our sponsor again, a generous community partner. Thanks for coming alongside for this episode. This is epic. This episode was epic. And so we just want to thank you for joining us. And until next time, it's JLB in the house signing out. Bless you.
Thanks for listening to Studio 2501, conversations about mental health and wellness. Studio 2501 is hosted by Lynn Bright. Lynn is HopeNet's Director of Community Impact, a published author, and has been a licensed clinical therapist for over 20 years. This podcast is owned and operated by HopeNet in Wichita, Kansas. HopeNet is a faith-based nonprofit providing a wide range of mental health and wellness services, including counseling, life coaching, and trainings. For more information on HopeNet and to learn how you can help expand our mission, visit hopenetwichita.org and follow us on social media at HopeNet Wichita. Thank you.